This is Take Flights with Mark Whittle.
Freddie Woodman, welcome to the Take Flight podcast.
No, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I'm buzzing to be here. Listen to the pod all the time, so to be on it now is really good for me.
Oh, mate, no, I love that. When I asked you, you're like, yeah, I listen to it all the time. I was like, that's even better. So it's going to be...
Yeah, no, all the time, always on my walks. Sometimes when I wake up early in the morning, stick it on. It's probably up there with one of my favourite pods. So yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing to be on it, to be fair.
Thanks, mate. No, it's great. And I suppose we met through the WhatsApp group that we're in.
Yeah, Tribe of Mentors, I think Simon set up this group chat of just inspiring people, and we've been able to connect through that. So yeah, like I said, that group is pretty special, isn't it?
Yeah.
And some of the wisdom you get off it, little nuggets of wisdom, perfect.
Yeah. How do you know Simon?
Do you know what? I don't actually know Simon.
Okay.
I funny enough, I listened to a podcast of one of the Tribe of Mentors, and my financial advisor Sam, who's part of the tribe, he mentioned it, and I said, "You've got to do everything you can to get me in this group chat." Like, I've heard it like 2 or 3 times in different pods, and so I was on to him all the time saying, "Sam, you've got to get me in this group. Got to get me in this group." He managed to get me a call with Simon. And I was like almost begging Simon, like, please put me in this group chat, please put me in this group chat. So when I finally got in it, I was buzzing. And like I said, yeah, there's so many great, inspiring people for me, you know, being a younger person and from all different aspects of life, which I kind of like. It's not like everyone there is a sports star or a footballer, you know, because obviously I come from the football background. It's nice to see people from all aspects of the world, to be fair.
I love that, mate. So you were actively seeking to get involved in the group, be around those types of people, because not everybody does, especially not in the football world. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, being in the football world, you can get caught up in the football world, and it's like, you know, football is the only thing, and you only, you know, I think younger players will know that you only get inspired by, you know, the football stars. So it's great to sort of take myself out of that and then see people from all different walks of life, and seeing how they're, you know, still on the same sort of development path that I'm on. It's almost like that, which I live by, is the Kaizen saying, you know, the continuous improvement. It feels like it's just a group of people just on the same path, which I absolutely love.
Love it. Where did you hear the Kaizen thing from?
I heard that when I was 16.
Yeah?
Yeah, when I was 16, and it's just stuck. I heard it from, I worked with a guy, I broke my ankle, and I started seeing a guy called Steve Black. Okay. He worked with the British Lions and that, and he used it, and he kept using it. I was thinking, why does he keep using this word? Went and like searched up and then started studying it, and I was just like, yeah, I want to be Kaizen, like I want to live my life like that. And I think the All Blacks in Legacy, the book Legacy, that was the first book I ever read.
Really?
First book I ever read, yeah.
Right.
So they use it in that. And after that, I was just hooked on this whole Kaizen, and I got a gym at home, and I got like Kaizen sprayed on the wall and everything. Yeah, it's like I'm obsessed with, I wouldn't say obsessed, but I think that's at the forefront of my mind, Kaizen, with everything I do.
Amazing, mate. I love that. So I sat down with Sean Wayne. I don't know if you follow rugby particularly, but he was a Wigan Warriors coach for a very, very long time, like incredibly successful what he did, and he was another one of these who embodied Kaizen, and he had it tattooed on him and all sorts. Yeah, and it's been a fairly consistent thing with a lot of top performers. So I love that, mate. We're 120 seconds into the podcast, and we're talking about purpose and continual growth. It's amazing. We're also celebrating a night when we went to AJ. You went with your dad, didn't you?
Yeah, I went last night with my dad, yeah. Some event, like the whole event, you know, everything was amazing. But yeah, it's a shame to see AJ get beat. But like, to be fair, I'm not really a boxing fan. I kind of just went for the whole experience. But I like seeing, you know, I don't know if it's different on TV, like being there and seeing like the whole like, aspect that them boxers have to go through, and I was a bit like blown away. I was a bit like, I probably didn't give them as much respect as I should have. And like, you know, my dad said, actually, funny enough, as AJ was walking in, they're like modern day gladiators, aren't they? Going in to like just have a scrap.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good event. But I wish AJ would have won. To be fair,
no, mate, me too. but similar to you, I was blown away by the whole spectacle, like the fireworks.
Yeah.
They put it on.
Yeah, you don't see it. Well, I don't really follow boxing, and it was almost like it was like being at a footy match. You know, it was massive. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. So yeah, fair play to the boxers.
Yeah, do you know what I couldn't help but think about the whole time is how they don't psych themselves out, and this is actually something I'd love to speak with you about, is focus and concentration, really. Like the amount of time they're in the changing room beforehand, knowing that they're about to step into the ring and have a fight, have a dust up, essentially, whether they're professionals or not. Like that's essentially that's what it is. And even the walk in and the music and the people screaming their names and like just the whole energy around them. I think it's incredible. They have the emotional capacity to stay level-headed and not lose their shit. Yeah,
definitely. I even think yesterday, I was probably still in my Kaizen mood of like, I was watching the different boxers as they come in, and you could see AJ, he was just completely calm, laughing, happy. And, that's probably the way he does things. Whereas I think it's Usyk, he come in and he just looked like he was going to war, no expression, straight in the ring and nothing. And I think the same I see in football is, I think everyone's got their own way of dealing with, with the sort of like outside noise, if you call it, and the stadiums and stuff. Everyone's got their own way, which I love, and I love seeing the contrast of AJ being totally chilled out, and sort of like just like sort of free, whereas Usyk just looked like he was ready to go and kill someone. But you see it in football the same. I've played with players that banging their heads off the wall before we go out, and I've seen other players just relaxing on their phones, just playing like games on their like Candy Crush on their phones, and I think, which way? Like, who do I follow? Do you know what I mean? Like, which way is the right way? But now I've got older, I realised there is no right way. It's just finding what works for you. And if Candy Crush works for one player and banging the head off the wall works for another, then that's fine. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I enjoyed seeing the contrast of the two boxers going into the ring.
So what's your way at the moment then, like pre-game? What do you do?
Do you know what? I think routine's important, but what I found in football, things can change very quickly. So I kind of not really like set in stone things that I have to do all the time. Like, I'm not superstitious, for example. But before the game, I like to be chilled out. I don't like to be too uptight. I like to listen to some good music, and some people like to listen to like headbanging, like loud music. I like, a little bit of Jerry Cinnamon or something like that in my headphones. And also just going over things in my mind. I think visualization is super important. So I sort of just try and, in my own time, really, just go over things in my mind and sort of go about it that way.
Is that in the changing room, like beforehand on the day you'll visualise, or day before? Or?
Yeah. Before the game in the changing room, we get a bit of time before we go out for the warm up, so it gives you a good chance to just sort of like take a breath. I especially found that important maybe this season. I know because obviously I've gone into play into the Premier League, and the hype and everything that comes with it, like it's just amped up. So you've got to kind of have that moment where you're like, right, relax, like get ready to go out to warm up, come back in, relax, go out, do the first half time, relax. Like I feel like you've got to have them moments where you're like, right, just take a breather, take a few breaths, and then you can go again, sort of thing. I found that's been important for me this season.
So interesting, mate. I think that's something I really want to talk to you about, because I've had people like Wayne Bridge on, for example, who was retired, already finished his career. Thomas Robson-Kanu, who was literally verging on the end of his career. He's a free agent at the minute, just finished at West Brom.
Yeah.
So I'd like to speak with you and hear your perspective in your debut season in the Premier League, specifically after such a successful season last year as well. Like, what was that like, mate? Like, everything that you worked towards was ultimately to get that Premier League debut.
Yeah.
How did it feel on day?
It's crazy, to be fair, because fair play to my dad who's here today. We set goals from as soon as I got my trial for Crystal Palace. He was on the goal setting path with me. He told me that I need to start setting goals, and the Premier League debut was the one. And like we wrote it down, and you write down goals and you think, I want to play in the Premier League, but it's so far away. Because at 14 or whenever I was, you think it's so far away. So yeah, to finally like tick it off and literally like it's on my wall, so I crossed it, Premier League debut, crossed off. Like it gives me like a bit of shivers now. But then your mind's always like, right, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I think that's the importance of goal setting. It's not like you cross it out and you're done. It's like cross out, done. Right, I need to go for something else. And yeah, I think that's very important.
When people speak about getting in a rut or losing motivation, or for one reason or another not necessarily feeling aligned with what they're doing, and this certainly isn't you, but I just want to use these three things as an example and hear your thoughts on it. It's usually because we've achieved a goal. So we've set ourselves a goal, we've achieved it, we've landed on it, and it doesn't feel how we imagined it would do. Or we've set ourselves a goal and we've massively outlived it, like smashed past it, and then we've kind of got in this place where we're like, fuck, like what do I do now? Or we had difficulty really understanding the direction we're going in the first place. So if we talk a little bit about that first option then, when you set a goal, and you've said from 14 years old you set that goal, and then you achieve it at 23?
24, yeah.
24.
Yeah.
You achieve it at 24, so that's a decade there. How do you feel about, like, let's say, like your expectation of what that feeling was going to be like? So like from that age of 14, thinking about it, working towards it, did it live up to the expectation? Did it not?
Yeah, do you know what? It's an amazing question, that, because I haven't given it thought. Did it live up to the expectation? Probably not. No, probably not, because when you're a kid, you think all you think about is playing in the Premier League. Or for me, anyway, but just want to play in the Premier League. Just want to play in the Premier League. My dad didn't get the opportunity to play in the Premier League, so it's such a big thing. And then when I'd done it, it was almost like, all right, I've played a football match. So it sort of brought me back to reality in a way. It's almost like everyone else says, like, what an achievement, what an achievement, what an achievement. And inside you're a bit like, yeah, it was good, but like, I'm ready to go again. I want to go again. And I think the other thing is as well, in football, it's like, I made my debut, but then I had another game like 5 days later. So you can't get carried away. And then after that, I had a game 3 days later. So there's always games like coming thick and fast, sort of thing. But yeah, did it live up to the expectation? Probably not, if I'm being honest. Probably not.
Well, you saved a pen on your debut, didn't you?
Yeah.
How did that feel? Are you buzzing?
Yeah, buzzing. But buzzing, absolutely buzzing. But then in football, you don't win the football match, and you're like, oh God, like it's sort of like a bittersweet moment. And that's probably competitive sport, isn't it? Like, you got all these these moments, these nice moments, making a debut or saving a penalty or whatever, and then you don't win. Yeah. And it's like, oh, like, how do you feel? So yeah, no, it's no, to be honest, like it's been brilliant, like, to make my debut. Let's not get it wrong. But yeah, I don't know if it lived up to that expectation when I was a kid,
But sometimes part of me wonders that if that's okay. But that's all right, because it's I suppose, not to confuse, but the goal of the goal is just to give you ambition, right? To make you want to achieve something special. And it's allowed you to get there. And really all it's done is given you the mentality to want to go on and achieve more. Because like you said, you've done it. Right, what's next? Yeah. What's next? But I suppose then we've got to have this kind of balance of going, wow, like, pat myself on the back for doing this amazing thing. But now I've trained myself over the last decade to have this mentality of growth and Kaizen. Yeah. So let's go.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately what it is. I think ultimately it's like, yeah, I've done it, and then it's like, right, I'm on to the next thing. And like I said, in football, you got another game like 5 days later, and you have to. I think one of the big things that I think is important, especially being a goalkeeper, is just just being consistent all the time. And I think it's hard to like sort of get carried away with, like, that's my personal goal, but you also have to be in line with the team as well, because it's not an individual sport. So yeah, I had to sort of like just be like, all right, it's good, but I know I've got another game and I need to do it for the team. So yeah,
great point, mate, great point. Interesting thing you said there, it's not an individual sport, but I sometimes wonder. I was an outfield player. I played as a striker. I actually played at Northampton Academy. That's where your dad
he played there.
Sometimes I used to think that being a goalkeeper is a bit like an individual sport.
Yeah, you could say that. You could say you spend a lot of time alone, for sure. A lot of time in your head as well. But yeah, you could say in its own way it is individual. But the amount of times I've needed the defenders to help me out, and the other way around also, it's definitely not too individual. But yeah, I think goalkeeper obviously is a unique position. There's a lot at stake all the time. Like you said earlier, a lot of focus, a lot of concentration. So yeah, I think in a way you could say it was like an individual sport in its own way.
And do you think that there's like a difference between a goalkeeper and an outfield player? Like when we talk about mindset and the way we approach a game and the way that we think about or visualize, obviously specifics of what you're going to do in the game are different. But do you think that your mind works differently to an outfield player?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think. Well, I'm only talking from what I know because obviously I haven't played outfield, but I can imagine that outfield it's 100 miles an hour. It's going on all the time, and like it's sort of like everything's happening like around you. Whereas in goal, you can sort of go through waves of like when the ball's at the other end, you're still conscious of like the thing, but you can have a, like I said, a little breather, like to go like right, like regroup, refocus. That's what I do when the ball's at the other end. I regroup, refocus, just have a little time, and then when it starts to come back, you start to switch on and get more focused. And obviously in goal, everything's in front of you. You know, I think I don't know if you play midfield. If you play midfield, everything's happening. Yeah. You've got to be like 360 degrees. Whereas in goal, everything's happening in front of you, so you can just see everything. But yeah, I think the mindset has to be different as well. I think in goal, obviously, if you make one mistake, it ends up being a goal. Yeah. And I think, you know, when you have to do that and you have that in your, not that you have it in your head, but that's the position you play, you go about doing things a little bit differently. You probably edge on the side of caution a lot more than probably an outfielder does.
It's so fascinating hearing you say that, mate. But as you're talking, it's really making me think. So I wonder then if, depending on your position, how that impacts the way that you view life or generally how your mind works off the pitch. Because you're saying really that outfield players have the right, in a certain way, to make mistakes. Because it's not as high risk. Like you said, if you make a mistake, it leads to a goal. Outfield player, maybe they'll be a little bit more, you know, on the risk side. Maybe goalkeepers will be a little bit more risk averse. But also, you've got that ability as a keeper. You're saying there, like, even in game, you're practicing that step back, objectively look and observe like what's going on. And you spoke about the importance of having that relaxation and that calm period. Like you've got an ability to allow yourself to do that, whereas maybe people who play outfield and are always amongst it don't. I don't know. Yeah,
no, it's amazing. Like I feel like I'm listening to the pod, like learning whilst I'm on the pod, which is crazy. But yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right because even in my in my life, you know, if I go away from football, just in my general, you know, my health or whatever, my life, you know, I always strive like for perfection, and that's almost like goalkeeper. If you're not perfect, then it's going to end up being a goal, and that's probably, I'd say, you know, it's something that I need to improve on as well because I know that you can't be 100% all the time. I know that my nutrition can't be 100% all the time, and if I have, you know, a burger or a pizza, for example, you know, I end up sometimes beating myself up and going like, no, you shouldn't do that. You know, and does that come from being a goalkeeper where you have to strive for perfection and you have to be perfect, otherwise you end up conceding a goal? Maybe it could be linked.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it?
That's crazy.
Because sometimes you don't think about. I sometimes think about how sport and football was led to the whole brain development of, you know, even I laugh about it with my wife that she struggles to cross the road. That's going to sound really awful. But like, I believe I have the spatial awareness because of my time playing sport that I know where the cars are coming, when's safe to cross. Like even little things like that, you know, where she'll stand and wait until the light goes. Yeah,
it's funny as well because obviously like you said that there, but like if I say like my sister's sitting over there and I throw the controller, like trying to see her catch the controller, it's like a whole new thing. Yeah. Whereas like she would lob it at me and I'll just like catch it, and I'll throw it at her. I think why can't you catch that? Like why can't you do that? So yeah, I think it's just. I think it could come back to the whole 10,000 hours. You know, I read that quite early on about how like 10,000 hours, putting your work in, whatever. So it could come back to that, couldn't it?
So you spoke about your dad a few times, yeah? He was a professional footballer himself as well, goalkeeper. Played, was it 500 games?
Yeah,
Over
500 games. Yeah,
He
500.
told me to ask you,
Is that what
are
he
you
said?
ever going to match his record?
Yeah, we have this competition in our house, don't we? Yeah, it's ongoing competition. Get to 500 games.
Yeah, you're going to do it?
Yeah, of course. It's on my wall now, so I have to get to 500 games, beat your dad.
What was it like in your childhood then, having a dad who's a professional footballer? Like, do you remember the time when he introduced you to the sport, and was it always going to be a case of you becoming a goalkeeper yourself?
Yeah, my childhood was brilliant. Like having a dad as a professional footballer, like there's nothing better. I used to go to school and everyone would be like, "Oh, that's the footballer's son," and stuff like that. He didn't even play to like a decent level, but just to have that was special.
He didn't play to a decent level.
Yeah, without me, it'll kick off for me saying that. But yeah, no, it was amazing. And my life's just been football since I was a kid. And I love football. So like, if my dad took me to school, if my dad took me and my sister to school, we'd drop my sister off, and I'd go to training with my dad all the time. Like, we used to go training with him all the time, watch him at games. So it definitely must have played a part. But when I went to secondary school, like, I wasn't playing football. Like, I thought to myself, like, the kids are getting into academies like really early now. I've probably like missed the boat, sort of thing. So I was thinking about becoming a roofer. I was thinking about becoming a roofer on my granddad's firm, and that was the way I was going about it. It's sort of, I think we both felt like we'd probably missed the chance of becoming a footballer. And then I just got a lucky break from my school teacher. It wasn't even from my dad. My school teacher got me a trial for Crystal Palace, and then just sort of rolled from there. But in terms of my childhood, like being around football, especially when you love football, unbelievable.
So what did your teacher do specifically? So were you playing for the school or something then, or you weren't playing at all at this point?
Yeah, I wasn't playing at all. I started playing golf.
Yeah.
So I just started playing golf all the time. And then in my second year of secondary school, I think it was year 8, they just had a game on the Astro, and I just went in goal. And I felt like I'd done well, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I knew my dad was a goalie, I could do it, sort of thing. And I remember he come behind my goal, Mr. Bruce come behind my goal, and he's like, "What are you doing tonight?" And I was like, "Oh, just probably going home, like, see mum and dad and that." And he was like, "Right, you need to get over to Crystal Palace. You got a trial for them." And I was like, "What? Like, that's unreal." So I got home. I said to my mum and dad, I said, "Oh, Mr. Bruce said I've got a trial at Crystal Palace Park tonight. Better go down there." And as I went down there, so obviously my dad started at Crystal Palace as well, but he didn't want it to be like associated, like me and him to be associated. So I went down there as Freddie Wood instead of Freddie Woodman. So I went down there, so no one knew who I was to begin with. And then obviously when I ended up signing, they was like, "Oh, it's Andy Woodman's son," sort of thing. But yeah, like that, just, I say it all the time, like to my friends and that, like, imagine I didn't get that lucky break. Like, my whole life would be totally different. I always think about that one moment, that day when he come behind my goal and asked me. It's pretty much changed my whole life. It's changed the course of my life.
Those tipping points are crazy. I often wonder, like, are they meant to be? Were you were meant to be on that Astro in that moment, or was it chance? Like, sometimes it's not worth overthinking it, but I do, as you said, it massively impacts people's lives.
Yeah, and after that moment, like I said, my life changed, because I remember my dad said to me, "Listen, I'm going to take you to this trial, and you either do it properly, you don't do it all." And that's the day he said, like, "What's the goal?" And I said to him, "I want to become a professional footballer." And that was the first. I'd not even like been playing football. Like, obviously I'd been playing football like in the park or whatever, like on the streets and stuff. But to actually go to an academy and like start the journey. And my first goal was I want to get a schoolboy contract with Crystal Palace. And I got that after 6 weeks. And to be fair, that lived up to the expectation more than the Premier League debut, because I remember like just nearly in tears that I'd signed for Crystal Palace as my team as well. So signing for Crystal Palace as like a 12, 13-year-old was like a dream come true.
Wow. So help me understand a little bit more about how that. So you weren't really playing at school, and your teacher helped you get the trial. So do you think there was an element of talent that allowed you to perform both on the Astro and at the trial, or do you think it was observing your dad, because we talk about visualization and how like when our mind can view ourselves doing something or indeed somebody else, then it impacts and the muscles react in a similar kind of way. Like, do you think, or a combination, or were you just a good keeper that just wasn't playing at that time?
I think it's a combination of the lot of them, really, because I played outfield for like the whole of my childhood. I played outfield all the time, but in my street, everyone was older than me. So they used to just bully me and stick me in goal, like all the time. So I ended up just being in goal and just like messing about, but didn't think like I was decent or anything. So I think it's a combination of, obviously seeing my dad do it all the time, like day in, day out, and that was his life. And then obviously, when you play football all the time, you can you know what you're doing. So yeah, I think it's like a combination of all of them. I think it's got to have an impact of like, my dad will tell you the story of like when I was born, he gave me a ball, and like, I just think little things like this they must all play a part, because there's so many ex-players or older players and their sons go on to play. The amount of players I play now, and my dad will go like, "Oh, I played against him. I played against his dad. I played against his dad." I'll be like, "Wow, like it's got to have like a knock-on effect for sure. Has to."
Yeah. There's a quote, you probably heard me say it on the podcast, that you can't be what you can't see.
Yeah.
And I believe that so deeply. Like, if you hadn't have either been given the ball or seen your dad do it, or, and the people who don't have families in it, it's because they've gone to a football in school or something's happened like that where they've been exposed to somebody.
Yeah, 100%. I think as well, it must have helped, because, like I said, in my childhood, I remember just being in the street every single day, just playing, just kicking a ball about, even if it was on my own, just against the wall, just bang, 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 bang. Like, I wasn't necessarily, like I said, I wasn't necessarily like in a team or playing like like in a massive like academy or whatever. But I think if you would have asked any one of my childhood friends or any of my family, I was always with a ball of some sort.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have a ball, I was making something so I can just like kick about and just mess about with it. I think that's important. I think also younger players, they get caught up with, I have to get into an academy. I'm talking about maybe from like, 8 till like, when you're like 14, 8, that sort of age. I've got to get in an academy. I've got to be playing. Like, I think you just got to be playing all the time, 5-a-side, on the streets, over the park. Like, you don't really see it now. And it frustrates the hell out of me. Like, when you go past parks and you go past cages, especially where I used to live, you don't see kids playing football anymore. And they used to be rammed when I was younger, like rammed. And when I asked my old man or I asked my granddad, and I say to them, like, what was it like? He said, like, everyone used to play. Everyone used to be out on the streets playing football all the time. Sort of gone that now, isn't it? Like, which is a shame. And I feel like parents are pushing their kids to go into academies so early. I just think, I don't know if it's the right way to go about it. I think kids should just play football as much as they can all the time.
Yeah. So interesting you say that, mate. I remember listening to something that Kobe Bryant said about becoming a pro basketball player. And he says that people talk to him about wanting to be professional, and he asks them, how much are you training? And then they say, well, we train on a Tuesday night and a Thursday night. He's like, okay, so what's that, like 3 to 4 hours a week? I'm like, yeah, about that. He's like, it's just not going to cut it. If you want to be a professional, it's just not going to cut it. You have to put in time. You have to, the moment you leave school to the moment you go home and have your dinner and go to bed or whatever, like 3 to 4 hours a day. Yeah. Like, that's basically what it takes.
Yeah, it has to become a lifestyle. And I'll go back to that time when I did end up getting that trial. I was a little bit, chubby, a little bit of a fat kid. My mum started cooking me chicken, rice and broccoli. I wasn't getting like jacket potato and beans and cheese anymore. It was like I was on like not that my mum would put me on a strict diet or whatever, but like me and my dad saw it as like, I have to give this my best shot. Like if I don't give it my best shot, and I have to change everything. I have to change my lifestyle. It has to become my life, and that's ultimately what it has become. But it's given me, the opportunity to like not like go into other aspects of life, but like I've managed to do the football, but also like pick up things from like the Kaizen thing, and like sort of go on this self-development path, which has helped my whole round like, well-being, I guess it is. So yeah, football's given me give me a lot, to be fair.
I love that, because what you're talking about there, that all-round well-being complements on the pitch and off the pitch. Like sometimes we think about performance and we think about the things that we do just for the activity that we're carrying out or the goal that we want to achieve.
Yeah, for sure. I think it it comes to that the saying. I heard it from on Instagram. I've done an Instagram with an MMA fighter,
Yeah,
and
who was
it was Brett Johns. He's a Welsh MMA fighter, fought in the UFC, and he said something that stuck with me. He said, "Happy life, happy fighter," and he almost said that, you know, if you get your whole well-being and your life in order, the fighting side, he said, the fighting side takes care of itself. Because I know that I've put the hours, I know I've put that in. He said, but if I don't look after my whole well-being, that side will become unhappy on the fighting side, and I won't perform. And that's something that stuck with me, and I've really sort of took it on board, especially these last few years. Just trying to find out what makes me happy as a person before being a footballer. And then me being a happy person and a healthy person has a massive impact to me being a happy footballer and a healthy footballer.
Right, that's unreal. I love that.
Yeah, I heard it from Brett, and I was just like, do you know what I mean? Just like sticks. You know, you listen to a podcast and just like sticks. You think, wow, that's up here now. Do you know what I mean?
And the beauty of it is that we get all this stuff and we can just use it, and you've used it. That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I think I spoke to you, Mark, about, I always try something different every month. Yeah. Every month I'm trying something different. So yeah, I think I'm just on this whole Kaizen journey, I guess, which is nice, and it does complement me being a footballer as well. I guess it does help.
So I really want to talk to you about your personal development journey, all of this stuff, and the well-being and what you're doing around that. But we spoke briefly about focus before. So I'd love to know if there's anything specific that you could share that people might be able to use themselves as well around your practice of focus and concentration, and how you take that in, and whether you've got examples from when it works in games and stuff like that as well. That'd be amazing. Yeah,
I think probably the best advice I got about focus, and the thing that I use the most, is I break the game, the 90-minute game, I break it down into 5-minute chunks.
5-minute chunks?
5-minute chunks, yeah. And I've done it ever since I spoke to Steve Black. Because I used to be like, right, when I used to play, I used to be like, right, get to half time. But 45 minutes is a long time to stay focused. If you actually try and focus for, 1, 2, 3 minutes, it's actually hard. So yeah, I break the game down into 5 minutes. So I say to myself, right, 5 minutes. Right, 5 minutes. Next 5 minutes. Next 5 minutes. And then if I've made a mistake in that 5 minutes, it's gone. I can't think about it. It's the next 5 minutes. If I've done well in that 5 minutes, doesn't matter. It's gone. I'm on to the next one, and that's really helped me stay really focused. And I've transformed that into other areas of my life, which is quite funny. So I'll go on a massive hike, and I'll see something in the distance, and I'll be like, right, get to that bit. Do you know what I mean? And it's just using that. I think it's breaking it down, breaking the massive, because you can have something so big, just breaking it down into smaller chunks. For me, it gives me the best chance of being as focused as I can, and getting through. Because when times get hard, or you're doing something that's quite hard, I think it does help.
It's so good. I was talking about this. In fact, actually, this might be a good example for focus. Talking about goal setting again. I know we've been talking about that. I'd like to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But talking about goal setting and how it's so important that we have this vision. So let's say, for example, your dream from 14 years old was to play in the Premier League, right, and make your debut. But it's so important to have the dichotomy between that vision and that version of whatever your Everest is, but the reality of where you are today. And being able to break that down, and that's what you're doing, the 5-minute things of break that down, and it makes it more achievable, less overwhelming, and easier to just go, right, I'm going to do this 5 minutes, or I'm going to do this 500 steps to over there, or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny you said that as well, because like I said about the goal setting, I've almost broke that down with my dad as well, because like I said, my first goal ever was to get a schoolboy contract at Palace, and then after that, once I got that, it was to get a scholarship at Crystal Palace. Once I got that, it was to get a professional contract at Crystal Palace, and then it's just gone knock-on effect. Then I wanted to get in the England under-16s, so I think I've almost broke, probably credit to my dad. We've almost just broke it right, probably stripped it all back, and just gone what's the first thing I can do? What's the first thing I can see, and I can get to that, and then it comes back to the 5 minutes. I look at people will probably watch me playing, but I'll always be looking at the clock. right, that's like that 5 minutes has gone, right, on to the next one. And it just keeps me focused all the time, which is good. And I use the phrase a lot that Richie McCaw uses. He writes down "start again" all the time. I read it in his book, and that's something I always probably use. I see the 5 minute goes, I go start again. When there's a new game, start again. When it's a new month, start again. New day, start again. I always seem to come back to that and use it. But I think for focus, for the question that you asked, breaking it down to smaller chunks definitely helps your focus.
Is there anything you do off the pitch that helps you with your focus on the pitch? Like, I know you're saying tangibly in the game, breaking it down to 5 minutes. And the reason that I ask this is because I've noticed probably in the last 3 to 6 months that a lot of meditation practice is geared towards focus. That's exactly what we're doing. We're allowing ourselves to have concentration, and when we observe and witness ourselves have other thoughts, we just bring ourselves back to the present moment. That's what meditation is. Because we call it meditation, everyone considers it this woo-woo, Eastern kind of hippie practice. Yeah. But really all we're doing is we're training our mind in the skill of having focus and concentration. And a lot of times with my meditation, I'd be tempted, and I think loads of people do this, and I'm sure will relate to this. You do get, I don't know if you meditate. Do you meditate?
Yeah. I listened to Joe Wick's pod with Russell Brand, and after that day I started meditating.
Nice, yeah.
But I couldn't believe how hard it was. Not hard, but I couldn't believe, like I said earlier, I couldn't believe I couldn't focus for 10 seconds, 30 seconds. I couldn't believe that I couldn't just focus on my breath without my mind wandering to something else. I was literally amazed. I was thinking, wow, like, how can I not focus? And then I was asking like my family, I was asking my friends, I was going, how long can you actually like focus on one thing for and think of nothing else? And they was all saying like, I don't know, like 10 minutes, 15. I was like, you're wrong. Like I reckon you won't be able to do it for 10, 15 seconds. And the more that I've done the meditation, the better I've got. But I still have them, I don't know if you have it, the days where you're just like, I can't switch off it. I cannot switch off. And there's days when I do it and I think, well, I don't think at all. I get to the end of it and I'm like, wow, like I smashed that. Yeah. It's quite. I didn't realise how powerful it was, and like, I've been loving the meditation. Yeah. Been loving it. I used the Calm app. Okay. And obviously I listened to the pod. I think you've done something with Calm. Yeah. Yeah, you've done something with Calm, and I've been using that app, and I've been loving it. But like you said, do I do anything off the pitch that helps my focus on it? Does that help? You can. How do you show if it helps, or how do you show if it has an effect on the pitch? You can't, but it's definitely put something in me which I can't explain. Like people say to me, "Why do you meditate?" And I go like, I don't know. Like I can't tell you why, but it just makes me feel a certain way. Which is hard to explain. You'll probably have something to tell me that I can explain it to other people.
Well, to answer your question, yes, I 100% have those times when I can't concentrate basically, and it's usually if I try and meditate in the afternoon, because the things that I've been doing have built up. Basically, what we want to do, and the whole start again concept that you said, I love that, because that's kind of what I'm going to talk about here as well, is we want to get into the habit of breaking patterns in our day. And again, you saying 5 minutes, right? Starting again, breaking the game down. So I generally do it by hour in a day, and I'll try to make myself, in between calls or in between sessions or whatever, take, even if sometimes it could be 6 breaths. Yeah. 6 breaths. Or it could be 1 breath sometimes. And technically that would probably fall under the banner of meditation. Yeah. But all I'm doing is I'm breaking the thought pattern. I'm breaking the way my mind is working, ticking over, because when we get stressed and overwhelmed and overworked, it's because we don't do that, and we just go one into the next, into the next, into the next. The brain is just constantly churning over and churning over. But even just 1 breath helps us to separate the tasks and recalibrate, calm the nervous system down, like all the things that allow us to maintain energy, health. But what was I saying? I was saying something about meditation with that's it. So even the first meditation I ever did was called Transcendental Meditation, TM. It's the one that Russell Brand does, Oprah and all that. They kind of popularised it. And even in the word transcendence, right? They're saying, or they're setting an expectation that we're going to get to transcendence. And I think sometimes we can. But that's a lovely, lovely feeling. but I don't think it necessarily helps with focus and concentration. Like, and sometimes that is the right meditation to do. That's rest and recovery, and it's nice. But meditation should be hard.
Yeah,
it should be hard. And I happen to 100% believe that if you do meditation, and you can build and develop that muscle of focus and concentration, it will 100%. Well, don't quote me on 100%, but it will certainly help on the pitch.
Yeah, I can imagine it can have definitely have some positive effects for me to take onto the pitch. But like I said earlier, having that healthy sort of well-being, healthy life, meditation plays a massive part for that for me now. Like I tried it maybe 3 months ago. I started. I said, right, I'm going to meditate every day for this month, and it's stayed with me. It's like a habit now every time. And it's funny you said you do it in the afternoon. You can't do it in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I've been experimenting when to do it. So I do like a calming one. I think there's a calm thing on a calm series. So I do that one before bed, and my sleep's just been incredible. Yeah. And there's a LeBron James. Have you heard the LeBron James one on calm? He does one on calm, LeBron James, and it is wicked. Like even hearing his voice, I'm amped up after. I listen to it and I think, yeah, this guy's serious.
Yeah.
I've been experimenting when to do it different times, but for me, it's really, really helped my sleep. Like I do it before bed, and I can just bang, I'm straight to sleep, which is wicked for me.
So good, and that's what people sometimes don't give credit to. That actually, depending on how you do it, it can help anything from energizing you, like you're saying with LeBron James, or helping you get to sleep, or a multitude of things, just depending on the type of whatever you're trying to get.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny as well because I've been doing it on the. I've been getting a flight from London back to Newcastle and that like quite a lot, and I do it on the flight.
Yeah.
And I don't know if is it meditating? I don't know, but I put my headphones in and I sit there and I can sit still, and like the plane will jutter and like my concentration won't go. I'm almost more focused on the airplane than anywhere else. I think probably my best meditation is on the airplane.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like so zoned in and like just on the airplane, which is
undoubtedly impacting your game.
Yeah, it has to be.
I'd like to talk to you briefly about your game at United.
Yeah.
Because that was such a big occasion, right?
Oh, yeah.
Playing against Cristiano Ronaldo, arguably the best player in the world. I'd put him at number one. I like Ronaldo, even though I'm an Arsenal fan. What was that game like for you? Like going to Old Trafford and being a part of that occasion, which had been hyped up so much in the media?
Do you know what? First and foremost, it was the biggest learning experience ever. Like probably one of the biggest learning experiences I've had, especially in my career. The whole day, the whole event, just sort of like it was just so big, so massive, and ultimately it was just another Premier League game. You know what I mean? It's crazy, and it's funny as well because we was doing I think we was doing a minute silence or a minute clap before. And so I looked over, I saw Ronaldo, and I see him like taking massive deep breaths, like going like this. I'm thinking, he can't be nervous. Like I'm nervous. Like, he's best player in the world. He can't be nervous, surely. And I almost thought to myself, like, yeah, he's just another human being. He's got untold pressure on him now. Yeah. You know, like this is all for him. He's got untold pressure, and it looked like that was how he was like dealing with it. And obviously the game, didn't go our way. I felt like I could have done a bit more. I felt like I had a good game, but I felt like I always feel like I can do a bit more. So like I said, yeah, massive learning experience, and just a massive day, like just drained me. Like after I was just like, wow, like that was crazy, wasn't it? Like so.
Did you find it harder to break down your 5-minute chunks in a game like that versus a different game?
Yeah, probably, yeah. It was just so like I've never heard a crowd like it. Like I've played in some decent atmospheres, like some real proper atmospheres, and that whole day, like even in like the warm up, it was so loud and just everything was amped up. So it was so hard to concentrate and focus like fully all the time. So, like, when I think of all like AJ yesterday, for example, that's a massive occasion. Like, how is he like proper just focusing? I guess the more you do it, the better you become at it. So, like I said, massive learning experience. I felt like I learned so much from it.
That's great.
and obviously just to play against Ronaldo.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get away from the fact, like, all my mates was like, oh, I saw Ronaldo, I saw Ronaldo scored. I was like, oh, come on, lads, like, give me a chance, will ya?
But I find it interesting, though, that on the airplane, if there's turbulence and stuff, you can completely, like, keep yourself calm, stay within that meditation. But then it's interesting, isn't it? I suppose it's, again, the dichotomy, the balance between, like, you can do the preparation through meditation, through, you know, whatever those things are for you at the time, versus the experience. Like, the next time you go to Old Trafford, it'll feel different because you've done it before. So you've kind of stepped up to there. Yeah,
I think it's for sure. It's got a, because I think the more you put yourself in them environments, you sort of become comfortable more in them environments. It's almost like my first season at Swansea was all a new learning experience, and it was like I've never played in the Championship. You know, I've never played in the playoffs. I've never tried to get into the Premier League. I've never played Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday. Like, it was just non-stop. I go back to Swansea for the second season, and it was just like not comfortable, but like I knew what was going on. Like, I just felt more. I felt like I belonged there way more than I did in the first season, and that probably showed because, you know, my performances were better, my stats were better. We got one step further. I nearly got there in the end, but we didn't. So I think people say it all the time. The more you put yourself in them environments, them surroundings, the easier they come. I think it's like I'm not sure who said it about, you know, get comfy being uncomfortable. So like I do cold, like from the Travel Mentors, they were talking about cold showers. Yeah. Like, I started the cold showers, I could not do them. I was thinking, this is the hardest thing ever. Like, how are these people doing them? Now I just jump into a cold shower. Not like, I don't have hot showers. I do not have a hot shower. Like, cold showers every day morning. Cold straight in. Yeah. Nice. Like, I don't even go to hot anymore. Nice. But it's like it's not a challenge anymore. Like, I remember, like, when I started doing it, I was brushing my teeth with the shower on. I'm thinking, right, I've got to get in there in a minute. Like, I've got to get in there. I can't let the tribe down, sort of thing. But now I can go in there, brush my teeth whilst I'm in the cold shower. Like, it's easy. So I guess it's just putting yourself in them environments more and more often.
It's the Tony Robbins thing where he says, you got to win your own negotiation with yourself. Like, you're brushing your teeth, like, I'm getting in there and I'm out. There's also a chemical level as well. Like, when you do anything for the first time, you'll have a natural chemical release of all those hormones like dopamine, etc. All those things will be flooded into the system, into the brain, into the body, and that's what makes it so memorable, because it's a new thing we've never done before. And we talk about today's ceilings becoming tomorrow's floors, because we're like leveling up. So every time we do something for the first time, it's like the body's like, wow, like shocked into this, like, this is my first time here. And then you do it again and you get a similar kind of release, but not quite the same. And it's the same with alcohol. If you've never drank alcohol, you drink a beer, you'll feel it. Yeah. You go and drink a beer every day for the next month, then you don't.
It's like caffeine, I guess. The same as caffeine is the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Last thing on the Man United thing, and then I really want to hear about your personal development and some of those experiments that we were talking about. I'd love to know, just because I've admired Ronaldo for so long, what is it like as a goalkeeper in the sticks when he was bearing down on you? Because for his second goal, he had a bit of a distance to run at you. So what's going through your mind? Are you thinking that it's him? Do you think it's just another player? Like, what's happening for you?
Yeah, I never think, like, I never know it's hit. Like, you never know what player. Not that you never know what player it is. That's probably the wrong way to go about it. But you're more like the ball. You know, you focus on the ball more than the player. If that probably makes sense. You know, I knew it was Ronaldo. Like, I'm not silly. But yeah, as a goalie, probably more focused on the ball. But yeah, I did have to keep pinching myself. That, like, there's times like I was slowing the game down and the ball was coming to me, and I was waiting to, like, pick it up, and, like, he was there, and, like, even, like, I mean, I'm meant to be focused in the game, and this is what I was saying. I'm meant to be focused. I'm meant to be so focused in this game. Even me, I was a bit like, fuck, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but I was like, fuck me, that's Ronaldo. Like, do you know, I'm a kid. When I was a kid, like, he's the man. Do you know what I mean? Which is crazy. And do you know what's even mad? Which I was saying to my mates is, like, you know, the whole build-up of the game was, you know, Ronaldo's back. People forget that they got, like, Paul Pogba, David De Gea, Luke Shaw scored in the World Cup final. Do you know what I mean? In the Euro final, Maguire, Bruno Fernandes.
Do
you know what I mean? Like, and like, no one spoke about them. Like, no one. And I was a bit like shocked that why
They're
is
all
no one
worldies.
why is no one speaking about these players? But I guess in the Premier League, which is probably the biggest difference, is like you're coming up against so much quality, like week in, week out. Like the first game I played at West Ham, like the top quality players, and even like in a Newcastle team, the team I play in, the players, the levels are. Yeah. The levels are high, and like for me now, like I just got to keep my levels up there with them, because that's where I want to be in that Premier League, up against the best.
Who's the best player you've played with?
I think probably from my England days, I'd say Phil Foden.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. I always say he's like a Rolls Royce on the football pitch. I'd heard a lot about him, and he come into the team maybe about 18, 19. And we was under 21s at the time, and he was incredible.
Yeah.
Like his touch, the way he passed it, you could just see he was going to be
really
tops. Yeah, he's definitely one of the best I've played with.
He's not getting a look in now. Now Grealish is there. He's not started, has he?
No, I think he started yesterday. They won 1-0, didn't they, yesterday?
Right.
But yeah, it's super talented boy, and he's just one of them. Do you know what? He reminds me of just a kid just like playing football on the streets. Like even like when we used to be around the hotel and that, he'd just be like kicking a soccer ball.
Yeah,
but like he would be doing it with like top quality.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, definitely Phil.
What's that like when? So because Grealish came in and he didn't get a start for a few games, and you had a run of games after your debut. What happens when you're either rotated out or dropped? Like, do you have I imagine different managers have different processes, but I think it's so important to get that communication style right with the right person. Because you had 4 or 5 games?
Five
in a row,
in a row,
and then you've sat out the last 2.
Yeah, I've been injured the last 2 games.
So it was injury that.
Injury. You never know, do you? I missed the last 2 games for injury, but in terms of like coming out the team, going in the team, especially as a goalkeeper, it's only one position you can play in it, so it's hard. But a thing that I found, like when it's happened to me, is like you can't like show your disappointment. You're obviously disappointed. You want to play football. You want to be in the team. You want to go out on the pitch and help the team. And when you can't do that, you're disappointed. But you can't let it affect you, because as soon as your training starts to fall, as soon as you start getting a bit sloppy, like it's not good. It's not good for you.
Yeah.
And then you can't let the team down as well. You can't be like an energy zapper from the team. I think that's so important. I see it a lot that people come out of the team, but they're still affecting the team by not doing things right. Moaning and just sort of like I said, just draining the energy. So I think it's important that you sort of be disappointed because you want to play football, but don't show it. I think that's quite important.
Yeah.
My old man, he's a manager now, so he'll probably tell you from a manager's point of view what it's like. But as a player, there's nothing worse than not actually playing.
You got such a good mindset, mate. It's coming together. It's so clear. Like you got was it last year, Golden Glove last year?
Yeah, last year
in the Championship at Swansea. You've played it for England at every age group, which obviously bodes well for future and getting the.
Hopefully, it'd be nice. Like.
So, mate, I'm just incredibly excited to be sat with you, hearing how you got to where you are now, and just thinking about all you can do in the future. I'm sure you feel the same. Yeah,
no, mate. Like I said at the beginning of this, I'm buzzing to hear. I feel like I'm learning on the pod, which is wicked. There's a new thing, learn on the pod, which is even better.
So we spoke on the phone maybe a few weeks ago before we organised this, and connected immediately over like the things that we've done of late, particularly over lockdown, when experimenting with different habits, practices, routines. So in the last year, cold showers I've done for the last probably I think 3 years now.
Really? 3 years?
3
That's
years.
Serious.
Yeah, but now I'm at the point where I can't not. I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah,
if I don't do it feels weird.
Yeah, I'm like that.
So that's been one for a while, but more recently I did no social media. We spoke about that for 21 days, no coffee for 14 days, and generally look for things just because it helps you to understand who you are and how you react to different stuff. So I'd be really interested to hear the things you've tried recently, and what you've got from them.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, like every month I just try and do something or take something out. Probably habits, add a habit or take out a habit. So for example, this month, no social media. Like I limit it to like 30 minutes. Like I've got the time on my phone.
30 minutes a day.
Yeah, but like after a few days, I was like, all right, it's going down to 15. So it's now 15 minutes, which That's been a big one, really. I sort of, you know, like when you're spending time with people, especially like my family. You know, it's like if I'm just sitting like maybe on the sofa with my family, like I just don't. My old reaction would just be to get my phone and just flick through Instagram. But now I'm like sort of like engaging more. I've definitely found that's a massive thing, like engaging more. Even like, I know it might sound silly, but like getting in a taxi and going through London, I'm actually looking out the window and looking at London, like engaging. I feel like I'm more engaged probably from that one.
I just want to say on that, like, it doesn't sound silly in the slightest.
No.
Coming off social media was, of everything I've tried, I'd say even in the last 5 years, that's been the biggest and the most impactful.
Really?
And it shows that 21 days is a way that you break a habit. And when you talk about mindset and how you view world and perspectives and all that stuff, it's all shaped from our habits. So when we're stuck in this habit of just being on our phone all the time, you're absolutely right. Like someone leaves to go to the toilet when you're at the restaurant, or they get their phone out, you just do the same thing. You're just in a habit, mate. When I stopped going on it, I became happier. I was in the gym more. In fact, because you know it has all the data on your phone.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the numbers when I looked at it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
So I cut down 2 hours a day, and I did it for 3 weeks. So I basically got like back a whole working week and more back of my time. And then when I went back on it, I didn't even feel the desire to look, and it actually made me realise how it's great for so many things, but how toxic it is, and how much it's bad, it's just a plea for attention, and it's
like I heard something like take a selfie, fake a life, and I think that's so true. Like I think a lot of people do that, but it's funny because like I said earlier, like one thing doesn't work for everyone. So I was chatting to my mate who is like he's got a brand, and it's done through Instagram and social media, and I was chatting to him, and he was like, bro, like I can't do that. Like that's my whole that's where I work, sort of thing on Instagram.
What brand is that?
It's called Head Honcho.
Okay.
And there's another one, I can't remember the other name.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't do that because that's my whole works on Instagram. I was like, yeah, you're right. So it can't work for everyone. Do you know what I mean?
But there are, like you said, though, there's healthy. Personally, I know my tendencies. I'm polarised, so I have to either be on it or completely off it.
Yeah.
But like, if you've got the willpower, it sounds like you have to just go like 30 minutes or 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
That's what other people can do if they need to be on it.
Yeah. I'm pretty much decent that way. So then, obviously, like you said about the monthly things. Last month I started this app, like a stretching app.
Okay.
So I do like 20 minutes a day.
What's it called?
It's called Runwood.
Yeah, I've tried it.
Have you tried it? Yeah. So I do that every day now.
Great, yeah.
That's stuck.
Did you get the subscription?
Yeah. So I've done that. The meditation, that's stuck. That's stayed with me. Obviously do the cold showers. Started trying. I done one thing. I took it away. It was like read a chapter a day, or whatever I was reading. I've done that and I didn't enjoy it.
The pressure.
Yeah, because I was picking up a book for the sake of picking up a book and not enjoying it. Yeah. Whereas before I'd read however long I wanted. Sometimes I'd read like 4 chapters, or sometimes I'd read like 2 pages. So I'm adding things and then like realising what works for me. Oh, that doesn't work for me. Taking that out and then realising what does work and keeping it, which is good. I don't know, no processed food.
Nice.
Is it? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Paleo diet. Yeah, not like a paleo diet, but yeah, I was doing that. Like that had massive impacts on my health, like positive. But then I thought it wasn't sustainable. It's you can't do that every day. Like when you go out for food or a restaurant, you can't go like I'm not eating anything processed. Like so that was a bit difficult. But I just love like trying new things, man, all the time. Like always trying to find that new thing as well. So I've got a few things in my notes for next month.
Yeah, mate. We'll have to keep each other accountable.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing the way I keep myself accountable is I'm massive on habit trackers.
Oh yeah, on the app Habit Tracker.
Not even an app. I got it in my bag. I've sort of like designed my own one.
Oh, I love it, mate.
And I've done it for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So what does it look like?
It's just like so it's got I'll show you after. It's got like the days at the top, and I've broke it down into like learning, sleeping, like recovery, my recovery score on my Whoop, nutrition, my application when I'm training, and the quality of my session. So I just rate it out of 4, like how good I was in that day, just being honest with myself every single day. And I found like that's been good for my accountability, just every day holding myself accountable.
Such a good level of commitment, mate. It's unreal. It's funny how I was listening to something about this the other day, and it really, really hit home was our ability to create, or inability to create systems for ourselves. Like sometimes we just need that, like not as being as strict like a computer operating system, but having something to fall back on. Like I know now, I've got a 1-year-old little girl. When she gets ill from nursery, most of the times I dodge it, but sometimes I'll get ill as well.
Yeah.
And when I get ill, I witness myself get really pissed off, and I don't know how to stop it. So I had to create a system for myself.
Really?
Yeah.
That's class though. To be fair, that you've like recognised it, no?
Yeah, it took me a long time, mate. Really? Yeah. But like, you just turn into a different person when I get a cold. Cause
really?
It would irritate me because I feel like it's stopping me do the thing I want to do. I'm not going back in the gym anymore. And then when I stopped to go in the gym, then I wouldn't eat healthy, and all my other habits would fall apart.
Yeah.
So building a system for myself that the moment I start to feel like I'm not like feeling 100%, just falling into like a operating system of recovery, and just like meditating, like making myself, because when you feel crap, you don't want to meditate, do you?
No,
but like making myself do it,
yeah.
because I know I can make myself feel better. Like just forcing myself to go to the shop that day and getting leafy greens and just like pouring all that into my and just like all these things and then. So you saying that, you got your habit tracker. It's like it's so good, mate. I don't think many people do that.
No, and I think like I don't like telling people that I do habit tracking. Do you know what I mean? It's like a sort of like a word in like a buzzword. Oh, I'm habit tracking sort of thing. I'm more just saying like I'm just holding myself accountable every single day for the things that are important to me.
Yeah,
that's how I would say it. So yeah, that's probably the way I'll go about it.
Yeah,
I won't say habit tracker because you see them on the apps on the phone and people are doing them, and I'm just like, oh no, I can't be saying habit tracker.
It's just part.
I'm holding myself accountable.
Yeah. It's just part of your lifestyle, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is important. It is important to me for sure. Every day, like earlier we spoke about focus. It just gives me like that focus of like, right, let me get my nutrition bang on. Let me learn something today. Let me get my sleep bang on. Just gives me just a chance to. Every morning I just look at that and think, right, like they're the things I've got to do. They're the most important things to me.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. You know what I'd love to hear, because you do a lot of this stuff, and you are, you said at the beginning you're embodying this Kaizen thing, like 100% you are. What are the other pivotal books that you've had in your life? Like you obviously had a large impact from your dad, who's clearly got a similar mentality and introduced a lot of these practices to you, but what other books have been particularly important or pivotal for you?
Definitely that first one, that legacy book that I read, James Kerr, about the All Blacks, because it wasn't cool, was it, to read at school and that. Like I was not great at school, and never picked up a book, and then I read that and I just couldn't put it down. I ended up becoming obsessed with the All Blacks. Went to New Zealand just because I love like the All Blacks.
No way.
Read about Dan Carter. Read about Richie McCaw. Like, all these great people. Got like immersed sort of in like the Maori culture. Like I love how like they sort of like belong. Like they say they belong to the land, and like the land is them, all their ancestors, the people that have come before them. So that was definitely a pivotal like moment for me reading that book.
How did the book fall in your hands?
Steve Black.
Oh,
he just said like, "Do you read?" I said, "No, I don't read. Like, I'm not reading." He gave me that book, said, "Read this book," and obviously it goes through like the 15 different leadership traits and that, and I was amazed by it. So that was important for me.
How did you meet Steve Black?
Lucky enough through Puma.
Okay.
Puma's my sponsor. My friend was working at Puma. I broke my ankle. I was in a bad place. I broke my ankle. I was 16, and I thought that was it. Like, I thought, like, I'm not going to be playing football for 6 months. Like, what am I going to do? And I'm lucky. Eddie Jennings, my mate from Puma, he said, I want you to meet this guy. You might be, your body might be broken, but your mind's not. You can train your mind. And that was sort of like the journey. Like I started the journey, and I promise you, I went to have a coffee with Steve Black. Yeah, I thought me and my dad went, and we thought it'd be like half an hour. We sat there for 4.5 hours, and I just listened to this man, and I was just like, wow, he just had this presence about him, just was special. So yeah, he gave me that book, and like his car was full of books all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he gave me Legacy was such an important book for me. I really got into the more I started to read, I started to get into Ryan Holiday. Ego is the Enemy, Obstacle is the Way. Really enjoyed them books. I thought they were quite special.
So Legacy is my version of Legacy, the book that started it all off for me. Well, technically the first one was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Oh, I love that book. Yeah, I love that book.
But I was a bit young. To be fair, I was probably about 16, but I was like, it didn't really. It's cause it's very spiritual and very.
Yeah, I only read that like a couple of months ago as well.
So good. But it was The Obstacle Is the Way. And then when I went on your profile on Instagram, Ryan Holiday followed you.
Yeah. I messaged him.
Did you?
Yeah, I speak to him.
Love that.
I was, yeah. See, I'm like one of them people that don't like. I don't care like if I'm like just out there like messaging or speaking to people like I read his book and I was sort of like taken back by like this guy is like serious. So yeah, I want to message him, see if he's gonna like. I want to speak to him about this. So I ended up messaging him, speak to him like yeah, it was crazy. Like now he's now me and him like talk a bit.
I did the same.
Do
I've spoke to him on email. Yeah, same thing.
I'll buzz off it like.
I think why not?
Yeah, you have to.
They want to hear that
for
stuff
sure,
as well.
For sure, they're more than happy because if people come to me and ask me, I'll be like, let's talk. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, his books were good. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, I thought that was brilliant. But all my friends, like one of my mates, brought me like the whole Buddha thing because I was like turning into that. Like yeah, he said I was turning into a monk and that. Like
the keeper who sold his gloves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I've started getting into like these crazy like super athletes. You know, like I don't always agree with his stuff, but David Goggins, like I think he's insane. But like, you know, can you live a life like David Goggins? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm reading Ross Edgley's at the minute. So yeah, I'm a bit like like ultra marathon, that sort of them superhumans. I'm starting to read a little bit more about them. But yeah, definitely Legacy, Ego is the Enemy, Obstacle is the Way. They're some of my favourites. And also one of my early ones was Michael Johnson, Slaying the Dragon.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's like an easy read.
Yeah.
It'll only take you like maybe a day or two, like easy read. But yeah, that's about goal setting. His way of saying goal setting is slaying the dragon. The dragon is the goal, slaying the dragon.
Is that Michael Johnson, the 400-metre runner? Or?
Yeah, the sprinter.
Is it?
Yeah, the sprinter. Yeah.
Oh,
so
awesome.
give that a go.
Yeah, okay, great shout. I love that because I find myself flicking between. I mean, I read a lot of those books, and sometimes you can get to the stage where you pick up one too many, and I can't. I just I'm done with.
Yeah,
books.
I'm the same now. I pick up a book and I'm like, I've already read this. Like, no, not I've already read it. I've already heard about this, or it's just the same, but it's just written differently.
Yeah.
That annoys me now because I'll start reading. I'll be like, oh, God's sake.
Thing.
So I've started to like I said, like read about like actual people and like their stories, which is good.
Yeah, we're
like
so
even to the point where one I read recently was Keith Gillespie. I think I'm not sure what it's called. How Not to Be a Football Millionaire.
Okay.
And it was his story about how he played for Newcastle United, what like unbelievable player, but then lost it all like gambling and doing all this stuff, and like even reading that was like sort of like gave me something to take away, like to learn from, and that was his story, and I like fair play to these people that are going out there telling their story in like a book and letting people like me learn from it.
I'm so pleased you just said that because it's funny, like I've started to read more biographies and autobiographies. And I think because you can glean so much from someone's. This is why I do this. This is why I speak to people, because you can just learn so much from someone's story.
Yeah.
You emotionally connect to a story. It's the lesson is delivered in a different way. So I think that's unreal, mate.
I think that's why obviously now I'm way probably more into pods.
Yeah.
Just because like people are just out there, you're hearing their actual voice, their expressions. You can see how passionate they are. Like when I listen to the Bradley Simmons one, like how passionate he was about how like his platform and what he does, and even like the Jake Hall one, how passionate he was about his work. Yeah. I think sometimes when you're in a book, you sort of can't the expression and how passionate they are about like telling their story. Yeah. I think that's great when it comes across in the pods.
That's a really good point. Also, you can't replace that, like the passion that people have got. Like when you talk to someone who is excited about what they do, like you're sold, you're in. Yeah. You get it. And it's just like,
sure. For sure, there's nothing better in it when you're listening to a pod and like just hearing someone talk passionate and you're like, oh my God, this is gonna be a good walk. This is gonna be a good walk.
Mate, this has been amazing. So as you well know, we do the same 3 questions at the end of every episode.
Yeah, sure.
So have you prepared for these or not?
No, I haven't even prepared. I haven't. It's just like off the cuff sort of thing. So perfect. Whatever comes out is natural. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, good. So the first is there anything you've discovered or come across recently that you're particularly excited about?
Definitely the meditation one for me. I'm excited to see how far like it can go, without really like without really like giving it too much thought, because I think if you think too much before you meditate, then what's the point of meditating? But yeah, that's something I've done recently, and I sort of like just when you get it right, it's probably it's up there with like winning a football match. Like when I get my meditation right and I'm just in that state, it's just perfect. Like it's just peaceful bliss, like it's everything. So for me, definitely meditation.
Love that, mate. Well, when you nail it, it's up there with
it's up there. Like when I get to the end of my my meditation session and they say wiggle your toes and wiggle your fingers and open your eyes, and you open your eyes and you're just like, wow, like that 10 minutes or that whatever, that's flew by, and like I feel like I'm in a better state than when I started it. I think there's not a better feeling than that. And like I said earlier, I can't explain to other people like what it's like.
It's going to another level of consciousness. It's coming back to yourself in the moment. Like sometimes I don't want to open my eyes now.
Yeah.
I want to stay in this state.
Yeah. There's even times like, I don't know if this is a thing, you'll probably tell me, but like for like a few minutes, but it feels for ages, like my eyes are shut and I can just see lights, like loads of colourful lights. Yeah. And I'm not thinking about anything, but I'm aware that all these lights here, it's crazy. Like, it's hard to explain, but meditation's huge.
A lot of us walk day to day like disconnected because we're distracted by so many other things. It's back to this focus thing, really. So when we meditate, we have a chance to be very, very present, back aligned with ourselves and connected. And some people are more visual than others. So when you've got your eyes shut, because I see shapes and all these things sometimes as well. Some won't get that, but yeah, that's cool if you get it.
No, it's wicked.
So the second one is, it's going to be, you might say it's similar to the first one, but one habit that you would encourage every listener to incorporate into their day.
Yeah, I won't pick the same one. Probably one habit that I do that's probably ingrained through my family is speak to someone that you love every day. I think that's I probably don't realise how important that is. Like when I speak to my mum, or like every day, I speak to my mum every single day. I speak to my dad every single day. And like when you get someone like that you love on the phone, or like even like on FaceTime and that, I think that's one habit that's massive, and it's something that if I ended up having children, that's something that I would have. That you just speak. It might be like 5 seconds, it might be like 5 hours. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that's super important.
Just on that, I read an article actually about you and speaking about your mum coming to watch all your games. Can you just talk a little bit about the impact that that's had? I think there was one example that you used about, I think it was feeling nervous for a game or something.
Yeah, Preston away, yeah. My mum, when I was playing at Swansea, my mum come to every single game, home and away. And there was one game, we played at Preston, and like I had a bit of an injury, so I was like just a bit sore, and it was cold, it was horrible, it was wet, it was windy. And like, I went out to warm up, and I was like, God, not that I wasn't up for it, I was like, I'm sore. I was just feeling sorry for myself, like, I need to get through this game, And as I was warming up, there wasn't even many people in the stadium, like, but I saw my mum there. She was wrapped up warm. It was cold. It was horrible, horrible day. She was there in Preston, that come from South London. And that day, I was just like, do you know what? And like, it doesn't matter how sore you are. Like, you need to perform for your mum. I try and make my family proud every single day, and that was just a moment. Like I see my mum there, I was just like, I need to perform, and I ended up having a worldie. We won 1-0. Yeah, like it's just one of them nice stories, isn't it? But yeah, definitely one habit is definitely speak to a family member, a friend, or someone like every single day. I think when I listened to the pod about Bradley Simmons, and he was saying about the mental health, I think that's so important, just to know that someone's there and you love them, they love you, and like it's just so nice for your mental well-being. Yeah,
and if we're struggling with what we're trying to do, a performance or motivation or anything like that, like if we can anchor to those people that we care about as well.
Yes, like exactly so important. So I think I don't know if many people would probably have said that, but it's definitely one habit that I'd recommend. Just pick up the phone and speak to your mum, speak to your dad, sister, brother, whatever. Yeah, mate, that's such a good one. I love that. Last one of these is take yourself back to a particularly challenging period in your life. It could be anyone. It could be the old injury. It could be any situation that comes to mind for you, right? A challenging time. Imagine there's two Freddie Woodmans in that scenario.
One of them's gone on to approach all the challenges and achieve all the things that you've done in the way that you have. The version of you is sat opposite me now. One of them didn't do any of those things. What's the key separator between the two Freddie Woodmans?
That's a hard one. Probably just having that, you know, for example, in my hard time, maybe my ankle, just every day getting up and just getting to it. And I know that might sound like silly, or might sound like, oh, you're gonna say that, but just like, I think you can wait, like when you're going through hard times, you can wake up and you can just be like, like, it's me, like hard time, whatever. In my ankle time, I used to just wake up and go like, right, my ankle's broken, that's it, right, let's crack on, like let's just get to it. And it probably just comes back to always having, when my ankle, like I love Winston Churchill, like he's like my hero, my idol. And he said, if you're going through hell, keep going. And like that was me every day. Like I just say it in the mirror, like when I broke my ankle, like your ankle's broken, you're on the road to recovery. If you're going through hell, just keep going. So I used to just get up and just go for it, just every day, just do what I can, just go for it. So I think, yeah, if you're going through hard times or, you know, all that suffering, it has to come to an end sooner or later. It has to come to an end. And when it does, you'll be better for it when, you know, if you just get through it and do everything right.
Legend, mate. Absolutely super.
Wicked, yeah.
Man, I've loved it. Thank you so much.
Mate, it's flown by. It's been
has.
serious.
Mate, that's an hour and 15.
Nah, buzzing, mate. Buzzing.
Mate, I've
Legend.
honestly thoroughly enjoyed it, man. Thank you.
Wicked. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, Freddie.